What's up, vlog? This video is my very first podcast slash interview style video. I had the opportunity to talk to Brandon Radcliffe of Skydive Spaceland, Clewiston, who is running for National Director of the United States Parachute Association. And I had a lot of questions because I don't really have familiarity with what the USPA does outside of set the basic safety recommendations and the licensing, the third-party insurance, and things like that. So this is my very first time doing a video like this, and I'm sorry about the quality. I'm not that used to recording things in Zoom, so it's not the best quality. But I hope that you guys learned something from the video and that you get as much value from this conversation as I did, because it was certainly enlightening. Enjoy, and let me know what you think in the comments, and we'll see you in the next video. And we're recording.
All right.
Brandon, thank you for joining me tonight. I have a lot of questions about the USPA, what it means to be the director of the USPA, and why you're running. So if you just introduce yourself, let the viewers know who you are, where's home base, and what you're all about.
Well, thanks for having me, Mark. Brandon Radcliffe. I'm a skydiver out of Skydive Spaceland, Clewiston, which is just south of Lake Okeechobee, right in the middle of the state of Florida. Been jumping for 12 years. I'm a coach, examiner. I'm an AFFI. And my whole skydiving career has been about training students.
So how did you get into skydiving in the first place? Don't mind me, I just cracked a beer. I thought, why not?
Yeah, go right ahead. I got my Red Bull here. Yeah. Actually, it's a funny story because my daughter, when she was 16, called me and asked me if I would take her skydiving. And I said, "Are you crazy? No, I won't take you skydiving." And so when we hung up, she's spoiled. So I started looking into it and found that she was too young. And so a couple days later, it just popped into my head that, hey, I need to try this. So I called up and made an appointment, got my brother and a couple buddies. We went out on a Sunday, did some tandems, and then I fell in love with it.
Where was your first jump?
That was in Spaceland, Clewiston.
Oh, okay.
So, which was Air Adventures at the time. And so then that Monday, I made an appointment for ground school on Friday, made my first solo jump, and been all uphill from there.
That's funny because it took me a while to get into it. I kept getting challenged to go do a jump, and it took me until I was in probably getting coached towards my A license, where I finally embraced the life. I was like, I'm kind of into this stuff.
Exactly.
So where's home base for you? You said Clewiston. Have you jumped there your entire career, we'll say?
Well, the majority of the jumps. I've been to Eloy. I've jumped out there. CPI in Connecticut, of course, DeLand, Z Hills, Sebastian, Skydive Atlanta. So I have jumped around, but the majority of my jumps are in Clewiston.
Nice. What's your role down there besides AFFI or?
My main position there, I run the mentor program.
Okay.
So Skydive Spaceland offers free coaching for anyone that has an A license up to 100 jumps.
That's cool.
So it doesn't cost the licensed skydiver anymore, for the coaching. It's all free.
That's cool. When I was an early skydiver, there were a couple people who would sort of always bring the A license jumper on a jump, even if it was a little above your skill level or a lot above your skill level.
Yeah.
So I always try, I got my coach rating, and I always try and just give back to the new A license jumpers, and it's kind of my thing. I was like, we'll always work it out. It may not be like the next jump, but I was trying to work them in because that that kept me involved in the sport. There can be a lot of clicks and egos here and there. So
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I try and pay it forward as much as it was paid me.
Yeah.
So that's cool. The mentorship program's cool.
Yeah. It's a great program.
Nice. How many jumps do you have now?
Just under 2,000.
Okay. It's a lot more than me.
A lot less than a lot of other people.
Yeah, it's, gosh, I know guys who are pushing 30,000 skydives, and it just blows my mind because it's like $1,000
right?
a year for 30 years.
Yep.
It's amazing.
So, yeah, it's crazy.
So I have a few questions about the USPA.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'll kind of give you my understanding of what the USPA does, because I feel like, other than Parachutist Mag and logging on the website, I sort of have a distant relationship with them.
Uh-huh.
I'm sure drop zone owners and instructors are a little bit closer than that. But so my understanding of the USPA is that they sort of research training and basic safety recommendations, and they put those out annually. The instructional rating manuals updated annually.
Every 2 years, but it is updated. The manual itself is updated every 2 years, but you also can download online manuals as well.
Right.
But those are updated when every board meeting, they have different meetings and approve different items that would go into the book. Whether it be taking out a rule or putting one in. Excuse me. But then, those will be updated online right away. So you can still, access that information online. But the books are printed, I believe, every 2 years.
Okay. And then I know they provide third-party insurance.
Liability insurance.
I know a guy who crashed through somebody's roof.
Yeah.
Once right before his B license, and I know that they sort of covered. Do they cover sort of accidental injury insurance or
not injury to the skydiver themselves?
Right.
But it will cover, like you said, if someone went through the roof, it would cover that, or if they hit a car or landed in somebody's, in a field and damaged some crops or something. That they would cover stuff like that.
Okay. So what else does the USPA do that we should know?
Most importantly, they're lobbying for us as skydivers. The USPA is a 501c3 corporation, so it's a nonprofit, but they lobby on behalf of the 35 to 40,000 members we have, depending what time of year. And we've always been stuck between that 35 and 40. We peaked somewhere around 41,000, I believe, at one point a couple years ago. But they, the main thing is advocating to keep the skies open for skydivers. Okay, we're a membership-run organization that has a board that is elected by the members, and they advocate. We're a self-policing organization where we go through and make up the BSRs and all our safety information. There are FAA rules that we have to follow as well, and the organization will lobby with the FAA, to keep the access to the skies. If there's a airport that's not wanting to have skydivers, then the USPA will go in there and fight for a drop zone owner to keep that open or to open it if it's a federally funded airport.
Right, because that is a legitimate air activity.
Yeah, we are an aeronautical activity.
Yeah, I think that's what really makes the USPA and skydiving in general unique. Yep. Is that it's just totally self-regulated. There's no government entity coming out saying, hey, here's what your gear needs to be like. Here's, well, I understand there's FAA guidelines for
Yep.
Reserves and for, the TSOing the equipment,
Yep.
And for cloud clearance and VFR stuff like that. But
Exactly.
as far as regulating the sport, there's really no regulation. I think it's unique.
It comes from us, yes.
And I think it's great because we err on the side of freedom, which is sort of what skydiving is all about for me.
Exactly. And as long as we follow those rules, then hopefully it'll stay that way, where nobody would have to step in and say, hey, you're not doing a good enough job. And that's what the board members are for. So we can go through and look at everything as a whole and decide, hey, what's best for the whole membership.
We said that the membership peaked at about 41,000, which kind of brings me to a point I saw in a flyer of yours that you're planning on increasing member involvement and also sort of fleshing out those member numbers. So what's your plan to do that?
Yeah, membership numbers, we need to keep people in skydiving. The younger generation of people that are growing up, and become skydivers. And then we need to keep them in the sport longer. I think the training and the professionalism of the instructors is what keeps those students in the sport longer. So as older people retire from skydiving, hopefully there'll be more people entering the sport of skydiving.
And you also talked about having building a scholarship fund for skydiver training. I assume that's
Yes.
like the mentorship program that you were talking about. Can you?
Similar, but I've always been involved in sports. As growing up, I played sports in school, and then out of school I played sports. And the one thing that I see is, whether it be skydiving or any other sports, it takes money to do it, and it's expensive. So if we can go to these manufacturers and talk to them about, hey, we need to set up a scholarship fund, and if members want to donate to it, they can. We'll put it out there and say, hey, if you want to, it's completely voluntary. We're going to go out and raise the funds for people that really couldn't afford to do it, but want to do it. And let's help them out maybe with an AFF course, or, maybe an aspiring instructor wants to do it, but he just can't afford it. Getting an instructor rating is very expensive. It's time consuming. I had to take vacation from work to come out here to do an AFF instructor course. So I'm out here for a week. And a lot of people can't afford to do that. But if we can find sponsors to create a scholarship fund to help out with that, I think it would be a great positive aspect.
Yeah, me too. It's definitely financially intense
Yes.
especially if you want to get good.
Yep.
What's really interesting to me about skydiving is that you take the AFF course and you're cleared solo in 7 jumps. And that is the last time you will learn anything regarding skydiving, in 7 jumps.
Well, our program is a little bit different than that. And there's a lot of drop zones around the country that do one similar to ours, where like we have an STP program where you're with an AFF instructor for 18 jumps. So it's not just, the 7 to 9 jumps for AFF. So, and we teach them different things. We teach them different exits, open accordion, closed accordion, different things that they normally wouldn't learn in the AFF program.
So. I think that's cool. I definitely see it at some drop zones that don't push the coaching hard after AFF. There's a lot of drop off in interest. And you can't blame them, it's like you did AFF and then do, 15 or 18 solos or whatever, and then do a checkout dive.
I
And it seems like
yeah, I don't
you want to accelerate that learning process too and keep them.
yeah, I don't like seeing people, new jumpers, doing solos. I think they should jump with someone all the time, because you learn way more jumping with other people than you would just going out there and doing a solo.
Yeah, for sure. And I all too often we cringe when someone rolls up to the loading area and they're doing a solo free fly.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
you just saw them on student gear last week, and it's like,
yeah,
maybe dial it back, And there's
yeah.
there's that sort of, I don't know. Some people can be pretty rough with how they approach someone like that, and just sort of tell them that's a bad idea. Don't do that. Or, but then, there's also people who are like, let me jump with you. Let me help coach you. Let me instruct you. And they may just may not know.
Well, exactly, and that's what our mentor program is. I make it a point to go around to every student in our STP program, and before they graduate, and tell them, "Hey, I'm Brandon. Here's what we offer here is our mentor program," and I make sure that they all get involved in it, so they can get the experience that they deserve to have.
So what experience of yours, I guess, would you say lends to performing as the USPA director? What would make you the good choice?
Well, I've been on a 501c3 board for the last 12 years, which is our high school booster club. We go out and raise a lot of money for athletics in our booster club because the school district doesn't offer any money for our athletics here in Florida. So I've done a lot of that. I've worked with a lot of fundraising companies, and I've just been on the board for, I started out as the treasurer, then I ran for president and won that, and now I'm chairman of the board. And my kids don't even go to that school anymore. They're all graduated. So, but I enjoy it. I enjoy volunteering my time. And so if I was, blessed with, winning a national director, then, I'm familiar with the Robert's Rules of Order and the different things on how 501c3s work. So that part of the aspect wouldn't be a learning curve for me. I'd be able to get right in there.
Okay. So I guess back to the USPA itself, how does the board work? Like, are there like meetings? Everybody like fly to Virginia or whatever a couple times a year, or?
Well, they have 2 annual meetings a year.
Okay.
And they're in different locations. They try to spread it out, in different locations so members can make it. If it was in Virginia every year, people from California may not want to come there. So they try to do it in different locations to try to get the membership. This year it was all online, so you could do a Zoom meeting like we are now, and you could watch, listen, and even on some of the committees they allowed questions and stuff like that. So as the technology evolves, then I think we're going to have a lot more involvement from our members because of Zoom and Google and all of them.
Okay, interesting. So I just learned about the International Skydiving Museum and Hall of Fame while researching things to talk about during this video, because I've never done anything like this before. And I started reading about its storied history and its plans that, as of yet, have not broken ground anywhere.
There's been a lot of drama about the Hall of Fame.
Organization and what the drama is. From my understanding, the USPA has given them money and sort of nothing's happened, and that's what people are excited about.
Yeah, the USPA voted to commit a certain amount of money. I believe it was $25,000 a year for 5 years I don't think they went out and talked to the membership about it. I never remember seeing anything until I just read it in Parachutist. And the issue is that's something that probably the members of the organization should have voted on. It should have been something where they said, hey, it's our money. And if we're going to have a Hall of Fame, where's the plans for it? They come to the meetings. I listen to it, on the computer for this year. And the gentleman was explaining that they finally bought a piece of land, or they're supposed to close this month on it in Orlando, where it's going to have a wind tunnel, and it's also going to have a wingsuit tunnel.
It sounds expensive.
Yeah, well, those are two separate entities, but they were going to be right next to each other with the property that the Hall of Fame bought. As he was talking, people were asking some pretty intelligent questions, because they said, hey, we want to go out and fundraise, and we want to see how much we can fundraise so we can see how big of a building we can build. So he said, if we build, if we raise $5 million, we'll build a building for $5 million and try to get things in there. We may not be able to do the total of what we want. If we raise $10 million, they'll try to do a $10 million building. And I think that's crazy. That's not how you go into projects. When you go into a project, you go and you pay to have it designed the way you want it designed. And then what your bottom dollar is. You go out and you get bids for it.
Yeah, it seems like something that could balloon out of control real quick once it gets rolling. If there's no.
So if you design something, show the people what you want to design. Tell them this is how much it's going to cost. This is how much we're going to try to fundraise. And then go out and try to fundraise it. And if you can't fundraise that much, then say, hey, this is what we've been able to fundraise. We're going to have to scale it back. Or, hey, we met our goal. Now we're going to do it. But they can't even tell us when they're going to break ground. And so a lot of people are getting upset saying, hey, you're throwing money at this. And, we don't even have a plan yet. So in each year, it seems like it gets delayed. People want certainty.
Yeah, and that, as a few years back, I was just curious what it would take to start like an AFFI, and if you go on their website, it says generally the startup cost for a single tunnel is between $6 to $10 million, which they will finance for you for percentage of your ongoing revenue.
Yeah.
But I looked at the plans for the Hall of Fame and museum, and to include an indoor skydiving tunnel and a wingsuit tunnel and their virtual skydiving experience and all of that. I mean, it seems like it's going to be crazy expensive. And to do it in Orlando, I didn't know it was in Orlando. They already have an AFFI there. So,
well, originally it was supposed to be next to that AFFI, from what I understand, and then plans got changed there.
Yeah, that's expensive real estate, right?
It sure is. But they've already, they say they're going to purchase the land. I guess like they said in the meeting, they're supposed to close this month. But we don't even, to my knowledge, no one on the board's seen that plan, whether they've actually got a contract on it and stuff like that. So it's a scary situation because it's a lot of money. And, $25,000 a year to the Hall of Fame isn't a lot of money. But $25,000 a year to our membership is a lot of money. So we want to make sure that, if we're giving money out, that it's spent wisely and it's just not going off to people's salary or something like that. I'm sure everybody in the USPA wants a Hall of Fame. But, it should be run correctly. And I think that is the biggest skydiving organization in the world, we should have some say in how it's built, or, especially if we're giving it money. We should have a say in that.
For sure. It would be nice to have a history of skydiving somewhere accessible, because all of the Googling that I do, the majority I find on Wikipedia, or some random blog that was written in like 1998, and it's kind of like flashy text. And I think it would be a good resource. I think
absolutely
it would definitely be something I'd be interested in learning about. And sort of learning who are the key figures.
And it can help grow the sport, but they have to have a location, and people have to go visit it. And then the kids that are walking through there might get excited, going, "Hey, when I'm old enough, I want to learn to skydive." So it's definitely a positive aspect, but like I said, it has to have a plan. There's numerous professional fundraising organizations out there that could come in and do fundraising for them. But I don't want to donate my money to it until I see a plan.
Yeah, it's an interesting topic for sure, and I think that's one that people should really be aware of, especially USPA members. That I had no clue until like yesterday is when I learned.
It's been a sore subject for a lot of members for a long time.
Yeah. So let's talk. Get a little bit more topical, and let's talk about this year specifically, because back in March is when a lot of states started shutting down. I know our drop zone here, Skydive Sebastian, was shut down for about 2 months. But we jump all year round, so that's only a sixth of our season. A lot of drop zones have almost missed an entire season of revenue. What's are you tapped into what's going on nationwide with that, like drop zones that are really hurting, and how can we support them?
I have a lot of friends up north that jump at the centers up north, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, stuff like that. They've taken a big hit, there's no doubt about it, and hopefully they've been jumping, but due to weather, it's going to end soon for them. So unfortunately, there's not much we can do other than, next season when they open up, hopefully all the fun jumpers will go back and support them, and so they can make up for stuff like that. There's been a few drop zones that have closed completely because of COVID. And it's a hard it's a hard thing to wrap your head around, because I would have never guessed that something like this would have been in my lifetime.
Yeah, it's skydiving is sort of it's a luxury thing for everyone except those who work in the sport.
Exactly.
It's hard work, and you get directly affected by these policies where you have to shut down. And I know that we specifically went to get our repacks. I think mine was up in March, so we made sure to get that done and go back and support the drop zone as much as possible. But it's I'm lucky I work online, so my job was not impacted.
Yeah, and I've been very fortunate too that I've never missed a day since it started. And that's the thing, we've got to build the sport so our fun jumpers and even the tandems, a lot of fun jumpers bring a lot of tandems. So, that everything helps. So whatever the fun jumpers can do to get people out to their local drop zones to help those drop zones out, it's absolutely, the best thing that we can do right now.
Awesome. All right, so let's talk about something a little more light. What would you say is your most memorable skydive, or top three?
Oh man, I don't know. I mean, every skydive that I do, I learn something. So, I mean, the top three would probably be the three tandems with my daughters. Um, you know, I was too nervous to take them on the tandem myself, as the tandem instructor. But so I'd have one of my friends take them, and then I would fly up and dock on them. Those obviously are probably some of my most memorable ones. But going through AFF, you know, I mean, I'll never forget my first jump. I don't think anyone could ever forget that, you know, but, you know, a lot of the stress that it takes to get AFF, I see it through the candidates today, that, just the nerves. And I tell them, hey, relax, just go out there and fly it like you always do. And I know that it's easy to say that, but I've been in their same shoes. So I know they're looking at me going, you're crazy, man. you know?
Yeah.
So, but most memorable would probably be the tandems, with my daughters.
Awesome. It's awesome. How many kids do you have?
I have 4 kids.
4? Yeah.
3 girls, 1 boy.
Now, have you noticed that there's a good segment of skydivers who are like very anti having kids and families?
Uh-huh.
How do you feel, I guess, about being a dad and then also being a skydiver? Do you get like guilt tripped by people for that regularly, or do you get called crazy, or how's that? Because I get called crazy pretty regularly by like family members.
Uh-huh. Yeah. A lot of family members, why do you jump out of airplanes? And so a lot of family members and friends, think I'm crazy. My kids, of course, the 3 older daughters have done it, so they can understand it a little bit. It's hard to explain skydiving to somebody that hasn't done it. But as far as kids at the drop zone, I mean, it's a sticky situation sometimes. At our drop zone, I actually, when I see the little kids, I have the little plastic parachute guys, that I hand out to the little kids at the drop zone, just to kind of get them engaged. And, I get those from Paragear. And so I hand those out to little kids, so they can play while their parents are going on a tandem, and they seem to enjoy it. I mean, obviously, you don't want the kids running on the packing mat and stuff like that. But, families like to come out and watch, other family members do tandems. So as long as you explain to it, and most people are pretty good about it, that, obviously they have to watch their children, and there's certain areas where they can't go. But as long as you're responsible, I have no objection to it whatsoever.
Yeah, Rhett loves the drop zone. He likes watching skydivers. He knows dad's up jumping or mom's up jumping.
Yeah.
I guess mom hasn't jumped in a while because we just had our second.
Yeah.
Long ago. But yeah, I realize they're going to be around. People are going to be smoking and swearing, and sort of the whole range of people is going to be shown up there. That's one of the things about the community too. Is just you'll get people from all walks of life. A lot of different types of people.
And I've been blessed to have 4 great children. So I don't worry about, when I'm there and I'm around children, absolutely I try to, watch what I say or do and stuff like that. And I think that most people do. Sometimes, language will slip or whatever. But most children, at least, the older ones know that, hey, that's not a word that I'm allowed to say at home or school. So,
yeah. Who had a real good perspective about that was John LeBlanc.
Uh-huh.
If you listen to Gravity Lab Radio, you probably know those guys, huh?
Yep, DJ, yeah. Great guy.
And Houston, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
their interview with him was probably one of the best podcasts I've ever listened to, because he talked about raising kids, and he's like, they're out there in the world. He's like, you gotta just pull back and let them experience it.
Well, they're the future of our sport, right?
Yeah, and future of our world too.
Yeah, absolutely.
His view on parenting, I thought, was just it's very zen.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
It was fabulous.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's all the questions I have for you. Is there anything you want to say? Oh, it's a good thing to say would be, do you vote for the USPA board, and how do you vote?
Well, it starts on November 2nd and goes through November 30th, I believe. So there's different ways you can vote. You can sign on to your USPA account and vote that way.
Okay.
In Parachutist, they will have a ballot that you could fill out and mail in, or I believe you can also request, anybody that has a correct email address with the USPA will be emailed a link to where you could go in and vote that way as well.
Okay. Do you know how is voter turnout in the USPA?
I haven't checked that for the last election. I know they had a special election for the Pacific regional director. So this one's a little different because it's just one spot open. There's 10 candidates running for one spot. And usually for national director, it's I believe the top 8 people that receive the most votes win. And then this one's just one spot. So, it's going to be a challenge for sure. I'm not well known like some of the other candidates, but I wanted to throw my name in the hat because I feel that I can help improve the USPA. If I didn't think I could help it, and if I didn't think I had the time, then I wouldn't do it. But I believe that I can be an asset to the organization. I think I can represent the members the way they want to be represented and be their voice, at those meetings. So, I'm going to try my hardest, and hopefully I can come out on top.
Awesome. Well, what are your plans? Let's say that you don't get voted in. How do you plan on continuing to support the USPA?
Well, I'll still be, attending, the meetings, or, talking with my regional director. I know quite a few of the board members that I can call on a regular basis, and, hopefully I can still get the voices heard. Whether I'm on the board or not on the board, the USPA is still going to hear my voice. And that's just the way that I am. And so whether I'm on the board or not, I will always be able to speak up, when I think something needs to be improved or something's wrong.
Yeah, and I guess that's something we all could do.
Absolutely.
We took the initiative.
Yeah. I always tell everybody, even if you don't support me, go out and vote. Get the turnout real high so the board members say, hey, we have to listen to these people. They're the ones that put us here, and the vote turnout is high. It's not just our friends voting for us. It's people that don't know us that are voting, expecting us to represent them at these meetings.
Awesome. Well, thanks for taking the time tonight to
thank you, Mark.
Chat with me and sort of explain a little bit more about what goes on behind the scenes, and to share your own experience. I definitely appreciate it, and I hope that our viewers appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate anybody watching, I hope they'll vote for me. But like I said, even if they don't support me, at least get your vote out there so the USPA can see a high turnout.
Yeah. Well, I'll definitely look more into it myself too, and take some action this year, because I've been a silent member.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, not so much as far as this channel, but as far as engaging with the USPA, I just I pay my dues and read the magazine and read the Rigorous Corner and the incident reports and try and stay safe, and
absolutely
try and get a photo in there every once in a while. But picked up yet.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, if there's anything else you want to tell our audience before you go, now's the time.
I think that's about it. I'm, trying to be relaxed in that because I'm not a good public speaker. I've been practicing it over the years, and in my examiner, classes, I practice. But hopefully I can get a lot of support, and hopefully I can get on the board and make a difference.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you are a man with a plan. So again, thanks for coming on tonight. And
thanks for having me, Mark. I really appreciate it. Hopefully someday I can get up to Sebastian and we can do a jump together.
That's the plan.
Yeah.
I might have to run down to Clewiston there too.
Either way, you're more than welcome down here as well.
All right. Take care.
All right. Thanks, Mark. Have a great night.
You too.